You've probably watched a hippo just sitting in a river and thought, that thing is doing absolutely nothing, lazy animal, useless, just floating there like a giant potato with legs. But here's the thing, that hippo wasn't doing nothing. It was asleep, fully unconscious, underwater, and it had already come up for air and gone back down at least 3 times since you started watching without waking up once. How does an animal fall completely asleep in water without drowning? How does it know to surface for air if its brain is offline? What happens when it sleeps on land? Does the same thing still happen? The answer isn't just hippos are good at holding their breath, it's something far stranger than that. Sleep for most animals is simple. You find somewhere safe, you lie down, you go unconscious, and you stay there until your brain decides it's done. You don't manage your breathing while you sleep. You don't have to. But a hippo spends up to 16 hours a day in the water, and it still needs to breathe air every 3 to 5 minutes. So a hippo sleeping underwater isn't choosing to manage anything. It can't. It's unconscious. Something else entirely is doing that job for it quietly, in the background, every few minutes all night long. Most people assume hippos must stay near the surface when they sleep, floating like a log with their nostrils just above the waterline, half awake, basically resting rather than actually sleeping. That assumption makes sense. It's what you'd expect from a large mammal that needs air, but it's wrong. A hippo can be in a full, deep sleep, brain completely offline, rise slowly from the riverbed, break the surface, take a breath, and sink back down, all without opening its eyes or waking up even slightly. It doesn't plan to do this. It doesn't decide to. The body just handles it. Therefore, the real question isn't how a hippo holds its breath while sleeping. It's how an unconscious animal avoids drowning on complete autopilot. And the answer goes much deeper than one simple reflex. Scientists call it aquatic surface respiration, which just means the body's automatic system for breathing while submerged. Here's how it works. As a hippo sleeps, carbon dioxide, the waste gas your body makes when it uses oxygen, slowly builds up in the blood. When CO2 reaches a certain level, the body fires a signal, not a wake-up signal, just a move now signal. The hippo's muscles respond, pushing it upward toward the surface. The nostrils open, air comes in, the muscles relax, the hippo sinks back down, and the brain stays asleep through the whole thing, start to finish. It's like how you swallow while you sleep. You don't decide to do it, your body just quietly handles it so your brain never has to get involved. Except instead of swallowing, a hippo is swimming to the surface and back, in the dark, in a river, without waking up. A hippo surfaces to breathe roughly every 3 to 5 minutes while sleeping. That's up to 20 times per hour. In an 8-hour sleep, a hippo might surface and sink back down more than 100 times, all without waking up once. That's like someone opening your bedroom window, letting in fresh air, and closing it again 100 times while you sleep, and you not noticing a single time. But here's where it gets crazy. This reflex isn't something hippos learn, it's built in from the very start. Hippo calves are sometimes born underwater, and the very first thing they do, before they've learned anything at all, is push themselves up to the surface to breathe. The reflex fires before the animal has had a single conscious experience. It's already running, and it keeps running for the rest of the hippo's life, every time it sleeps, automatically forever. There's even evidence that when hippos sleep on land, which they do sometimes, the reflex still partially activates. A hippo napping on a riverbank will twitch and shift in ways that look a lot like the same surfacing rhythm playing out in dry air with no water involved at all. The system is so deeply wired in that it runs even when it isn't needed. You're probably thinking this sounds similar to how other water animals sleep. Crocodiles, seals, dolphins, manatees, but the differences are actually huge. Crocodiles don't sleep underwater at all. They float at the surface with their eyes and nostrils above the water and stay mostly still. No underwater reflex needed. Manatees do something closer to what hippos do. They sleep just below the surface and rise gently every few minutes to breathe. But manatees move slowly and deliberately, and their surfacing is usually calm and visible. Seals can sleep underwater in short bursts using a similar CO2 reflex, but seals also have something called unihemispheric sleep, where one half of the brain stays awake while the other half rests, like dolphins do. One side watches over the body while the other side takes a break. Hippos don't do this. Both sides of the brain go fully offline at the same time. There is no half-awake backup system watching over things. The body is running the entire show alone, with zero brain involvement, while the animal is completely unconscious. That specific combination, both brain sleep, fully submerged, CO2 reflex doing all the work, is extremely rare in the animal kingdom. Now picture this. Ancient Egypt around 3000 BCE. The Nile River is packed with hippos, far more than exists today. Farmers living along the banks watched these animals vanish into the water every single morning and not come back out until dark. No one could explain it. The water seemed to swallow them whole. Hippos showed up in Egyptian art as symbols of chaos and the unknown, creatures that existed between two worlds, belonging to neither the land nor the deep. The goddess Taweret, who protected pregnant women, was drawn with a hippo's body because hippos were seen as powerful, mysterious forces that could not be fully understood. But what those Egyptians were actually watching, without any way to know it, was a sleep cycle. Days spent unconscious on the riverbed, nights spent grazing on land. The monster that swallowed itself into the river every dawn was just going to bed. The mystery that shaped an entire civilization's mythology was a nap. This is the part everyone misses. This behavior has been in front of you your whole life in ways you never connected. Every nature documentary where a hippo sits motionless in a river looking bored for 10 straight minutes, almost certainly asleep. Every zoo visit where you watched the hippo doing nothing in its pool during the day, same thing, asleep. Those underwater viewing windows at zoo hippo enclosures, the ones you pressed your face against as a kid, those windows were specifically built so researchers could study this sleep behavior up close. That glass existed for science. Baby hippo birth videos where the calf immediately pushes toward the surface. That's the reflex firing for the very first time, in the first seconds of life. The reddish liquid hippos produce that looks like they're bleeding. That's actually a natural sunscreen and skin protectant they secrete while resting in the sun between water sessions, completely unrelated to sleep but part of the same pattern of rest and recovery. Sleep apnea in humans, where a sleeping person stops breathing and jolts awake gasping, is essentially the problem hippos evolved a permanent solution to. Their system is the answer to the thing humans suffer from. The word hippopotamus itself comes from ancient Greek meaning river horse, a name given by people who were just as confused as the Egyptians, watching an enormous animal disappear into a river every morning and not knowing why. Those deep clicking and rumbling noises recorded underwater near hippo habitats. Researchers now think some of those sounds are made by sleeping hippos, vocalizing without any conscious intention to do so, the same way some people talk in their sleep. The reason hippos are most dangerous at dusk and dawn, that's not random. That's when they're crossing from water to land and back. Groggy from sleeping, territorial, moving through open ground. The danger is built into the sleep schedule. Here's the honest truth, though. Scientists still have open questions about exactly how deeply hippos sleep underwater, whether it's always full deep sleep, lighter rest, or something that changes based on the individual or the environment. The reflex itself is well documented and confirmed, but the full picture of hippo sleep stages is still being studied. The system also depends entirely on having enough water. Hippos in drought conditions, where rivers shrink and dry up, show signs of real stress and increased aggression because the reflex needs water to work properly. No river means the sleep system is constantly interrupted. Take away the water and you don't just remove the habitat, now you remove the animal's ability to sleep correctly. And a sleep-deprived hippo that weighs around 3,000 pounds and can run at roughly 20 miles per hour, faster than most people, is genuinely dangerous. Researchers are now studying the hippo's CO2-triggered surfacing reflex as a possible model for understanding automatic breathing in other mammals, including humans with sleep-related breathing problems. The hippo may have been quietly holding the answer to a human health question for millions of years. Hippos sleep underwater because their bodies handle the breathing automatically. No decision, no awareness, not even once. That still, silent hippo you've seen 100 times doing nothing in a river, fully unconscious, running on autopilot, doing something no human body can do.